Well, once you become hooked on the cycling bug, whether that be for cycling with friends on the weekend, perhaps doing the occasional sportif, or even racing seriously, then I bet that if someone told you there were some proven ways to cycle faster without actually having to do any more training, then you'll probably want to bite my hand off for those magic answers.
Yeah, indeed, Mark, but unfortunately we don't have any magic tricks for you today, but what we can do is, well, walk you through some simple tips for how to cycle faster without just doing lots more training.
Right, well, first things first, I'm going to start with the often peddled myth that more equals better. Therefore, the only way to get better and cycle faster is to do more and more training.
Yeah, well, that just simply isn't true. Now, although there is a certain baseline volume that we all need to do, and that's going to vary from individual to individual, entirely dependent on the time we've got available to us and our lifestyles, there is something that we can all benefit from, and that's what I like to call getting more bang from your butt from our training.
Yeah, now if your cycling mostly consists of just riding, then you can definitely get a lot smarter. Now, I'm not saying you need to train like a pro cyclist, but by including some specific intervals into maybe 1 or 2 of your rides per week can be very beneficial.
Yeah, and we'd all really like to improve, say, our FTP, and this is effectively how hard we can go before our legs are flooding with lactate and really we're struggling to turn the pedals anymore.
Yeah, and a really good session for that is by working on what's called your sweet spot. Now, this works just below your functional threshold power and basically aims to bump that ceiling up.
So an example session could be 4 by 10 minutes at sweet spot with 5 minutes recovery between each rep. But the ultimate objective would be to progress to something like 3 by 20 minutes at sweet spot with 10 minutes recovery between each rep, and even trying to reduce that recovery down to something like 3 minutes recovery between each rep over time.
Now, following on from that, stripping junk miles out of our training schedule is something that's going to help us no end. Now, I won't lie, I used to struggle with, well, getting rid of the comfort blanket that these sessions would often provide because, well, it's nice and simple, you just go out and ride.
Yeah, but instead, scrap the junk miles and instead opt for a more structured session plan, perhaps a quick and effective session on the indoor trainer, maybe even using Zwift. And I guarantee you'll jump off the bike feeling far more satisfied than if you'd just gone out riding for riding's sake.
Now, by riding with other better cyclists, we can take ourselves out of our own bubble and comfort zone and, well, see some quite sizable benefits actually.
Yeah, by riding with more experienced riders as well, we can get hints and tips as we're actually riding along.
Yeah, and also by riding with these quicker riders, you can hide from the wind and, well, you can ride along quicker for a lower effort level, really.
Yeah, but this does come with a caveat though, so be careful as to who you head out riding with, because if you head out with too strong a group, well, you could find yourself hanging on to the back for dear life before the warm-up is even finished, or even maybe spat out of the back mid-session and riding on your own again.
Yeah, and equally, if you go out and ride with riders that, well, aren't perhaps strong enough, then you're not going to benefit from that group dynamic that can come from a good, well-moving group. So just pop along to a local tri club or a bike club because they all have the usual weekend rides and see what you can get involved with.
Now then, appropriate pacing and sensibly dividing your energy out over the course of a ride will help you more than you imagine. See, going out too hard, and before you know it, you'll have no energy left in the tank and find yourself tailing off towards the end. Now, we all know someone that does that more often than not. Or equally, if you conserve your energy too much, then you'll find yourself getting to the end of that ride with far too much energy left in the tank and really leave you thinking whether you actually got anything from that ride at all.
And that being said, coming in the door and feeling as if you could go out then and do the ride once more is infinitely better for our morale than, well, being completely floored because we've buried ourselves from the get-go in the ride. So really, it's just a balancing act that we have to figure out.
Now then, let's talk about your gears because, well, this is an easy win for cycling faster without actually doing any extra training. So whatever the terrain you're riding on, whether it's uphill, downhill, with a headwind or maybe even with a cracking tail and you're flying along, it's really important that you're utilising the gears that you have available as best as you can.
Yeah, now that right gear selection makes a massive impact on the cadence that we're able to spin along at, or crucially not spin along at if we get that gear choice wrong. So for example, if we're approaching a climb and we don't or forget to change down into an easier gear before we get there, we're just going to be struggling to turn the pedals and grinding our way up there, and that's just not an efficient way to ride our bikes.
Yeah, and on that note, it's really important that you know your gears, how they work, how they feel, whether they're mechanical levers or electronic buttons. And the best way for that is literally just riding your bike, getting used to it, because the last thing you want is to be hitting the wrong gear, going into a harder gear when in fact you wanted an easier gear. And also starting to preempt these things like climbs and getting into the right gear or the downhills, and in fact when you're coming to a stop at a junction, making sure you're getting into the right gear for that.
Now, on to aerodynamics, and whatever the profile of our ride, be that on the flat, going downhill, or even to a lesser extent going uphill, by paying closer attention to our aerodynamics, and particularly how we're sat on the bike, can make a big difference, especially on the TT bike. But let's not forget our road bike, which a lot of us do spend time training on.
Yeah, now regardless of the bike that we're using, by sitting up and increasing our frontal area to the wind is obviously going to create more drag and it's going to slow us down. So we really want to be mindful of our frontal area. So on a TT bike, it's obvious, just get into the aero bars and tuck ourselves down. But on a road bike, rather than riding along on the hoods, go down onto the drops and reduce that frontal area, or as we see a lot of pro cyclists doing, is actually sitting on the hoods but dropping their elbows down, and that is arguably more aerodynamic.
Now, also, we can't forget about our clothing choice, because that adds into the equation of aerodynamics as well. Wearing baggy or ill-fitting clothing is absolutely going to slow us down in comparison to a nicely fitted, good bit of kit. And also, we can't forget that we as the rider, well, we create up to 80% of the drag that we have to overcome on a bike ride.
Now, thankfully, we don't have to devote all our energy to getting fitter. We can actually make some serious gains by improving our skill on the bike.
Yeah, indeed. Now, what if I told you that you could gain a few seconds every time you go through a corner? Well, as we approach a corner, that entry speed that we take into it really needs to be maintained on the exit and carry on that momentum that we've built. So I suppose, for an example, if we're going into a left-hand corner, you've got to really think about keeping that inside left pedal up, pushing down hard on your outside right pedal, almost as if you're pushing your foot into the ground to help you push yourself around the corner.
Yeah, and when we hit downhills, that is free speed, so really try to utilise it. If you're braking the whole way down a downhill, well, you're wasting that free speed. So really try to not do that, and that takes confidence to not brake, but obviously as safe as you can be.
And lastly, do not underestimate how fueling properly can affect us and how we feel when we're on the bike, and specifically when we're on there for longer than 90 minutes at a time. It is entirely possible to slow down the rate of tiredness and fatigue that we feel by taking on board good nutrition.
Yeah, ideally this is in the form of carbohydrates to keep those energy levels high and to stop you from falling off the edge of that cliff. So anything that's ready available, like energy gels, bars, energy drinks, jelly sweets, or perhaps even simple savoury snacks like sandwiches, rice cakes, or even protein snacks like nuts. There's not really one answer for all. Everyone is very different, responds differently. So it's a case of finding out what works for you through experiment and allowing you to cycle faster.
Right then, hopefully we have highlighted that there are quite the list of ways to cycle our bikes faster without actually doing more training.
Yeah, of course, this is just a sample of some of our own thoughts, but if you have any of your own, please do drop them in the comment section below. If you like this video today, hit that thumbs up button, and if you'd like to see more from GTN, you can click on the globe that's just here and subscribe to the channel.
Since we actually talked a little bit about junk miles, if you want to see another video we did about those, then you can get that here.
Yeah, and if you'd like to see how to cycle faster for free, very similar to this, you can click down there.